I was hunched over a chipped mug at Sparrow Street Coffee in Cleveland, counting what was left of my month on my fingers. When I heard a laugh I knew too well, and never wanted to hear again, lazy at the end like a cat stretching. Derek. 3 months since he'd chosen freedom, 3 minutes since my stomach stopped behaving, and there he was with a red-lipped girl and a brand new watch calling my name across the room like he owned the place, like he still owned me. I didn't think I spun to the nearest table, put my arms around a stranger in a white shirt, breathed into starched cotton, and said, "Please pretend you know me." He went still, like winter deciding if it should crack. Then in this low, even voice said, "If you hold me this tight, people might think we're actually a thing." And when Derek strutted over, the stranger looked up without raising his tone. "Could you not? She's busy." And just like that, the spectacle dissolved, and I could breathe again, yeah. That happened. 2 hours later, I'm in a small office at Harbor and Finch CPAs, trying to ignore a printer that sounds like anxiety. The partner slides me a one-pager and says there's a $2,406 mismatch against the bank, rec 30 minutes go, so I do what I do. When the world makes no sense, I reconcile it. A duplicate ACH for 1203, a $3 fee in the wrong month. A 1200 write-down stuffed into purchases instead of cost of goods sold. Move this reclass that write the entries done, hands trembling, voice steady. The door opens and in comes a breeze, a quiet cologne, and the stranger from the cafe like the universe decided to run a joke past me twice. He nods to the partner, says Graham Wilder from Wilder Group, potential investor just observing, then looks at me like a footnote. He's deciding to read or ignore. So you do improv and debits, and I say, if you want to judge me, check my entries. If you want to judge my character, don't use one panic hug as the sample size. He blinks, mouth quirks, calls my work decent, and I file that under canned peas. In the elevator, he says, "You did better than I expected." I say, "I don't need your expectations. I need the job." He chuckles and says, "Direct." I like direct, pity. It upsets people who prefer stories, and I tell him, "Let the numbers talk, you know what I mean." Sequoia, Freight's books looked like a tornado, wrote them with its left hand. We built a war room and went to work. He took contracts. I took bank feeds, and his management style could slice paper without touching it. He'd drift past my chair and drop a line like, "Not bad. You only miskeyed one index that would have cost the client a used Honda," or "Spaces in formulas are the enemy of reconciliation." Camille then hold a door for me and throw in, "Don't trip, paperwork might bury my favorite staffer," and I'd mutter, "I'm not your favorite anything," while my cheeks warmed anyway. But under the ice there were tells a protein bar planted by my mouse at 8 p.m. with no commentary. A steady look when I refused a not-quite-legal revenue timing trick, and a rule he set in that quiet voice that doesn't invite argument. 3 choices, legal low risk, legal optimized, or illegal. If anyone pushes door 3, call me then leave. We don't sell pretty lies. I wish I could say I liked him immediately. Pride makes you slow to forgive competence in a person you want to dislike. Then my body cashed a check I shouldn't have written, and the room tilted, and everything went soft. I came to under fluorescent lights with his suit jacket over me, and him in the world's ugliest vinyl chair, tie-off eyes snapping open. The second I moved, hand-checking my forehead, before he remembered to retreat behind that mask. "Don't get the wrong idea," he said. "I just don't want my staff dying before the deadline," I rasped. "What deadline?" And he said the one I moved. "You've got 2 sick days. Sequoia can wait 48 hours. Bread and warm water are in the bag. Doctor says no coffee for 24 hours. And somehow there was a phone charger exactly like mine, like he'd thought 2 steps ahead for once and didn't want credit. A night or two later, I wandered past an empty lounge and heard music, not fancy, just a line someone plays to clear their head, and there he was at an old piano with a chipped E key and a dog-eared sheet where someone had written R, don't rush the left hand. He didn't turn, just asked how long I planned to stand there, and I said until you hit the wrong note. He said, believe it or not, I can do 3 songs enough when necessary, and when I said it sounded like something he actually felt. He said May taught me she was my fiancée. Wrong turn on a wet road. I was a car behind a year of silence until 1 note wouldn't leave him alone, then 2. I didn't say I'm sorry, because sometimes that collapses a person back into the moment they barely survived. I turned pages when he nodded, read a penciled line that said, don't skip the silence, silence is music too, and told him I say the same thing to clients about white space in numbers, let truth breathe. We laughed without noise, sat in the soft, and left the thing unnamed, because naming it too early ruins it. He invited me to dinner like a calendar reminder, no fluff, and I walked into a penthouse that was 90% glass and 10% expensive gray. We made chicken piccata that didn't embarrass either of us. He laughed for real, and it changed his face. I teased him about being allergic to color, buy a yellow pillow, live a little, and he said gray is safe, but not like he believed it the way he used to. Then life did what it does when you are barely starting to trust it. A local blog ran a grainy photo of us leaving the office with some slime headline about a young staffer snaring a lonely millionaire. Clients called the partners, pulled me into a room, and said, we believe you. And also our reputation matters. Pause your subcontract until this blows over, and I kept my chin up while my stomach fell through the floor. Graham dropped the paper on my desk like it was a bomb. Asked what I did to attract this, and when I said exist in a hallway, he went quiet and said, if this rattles you, you won't last. I can't carry fragile people. Fragile hit the hairline crack I'd been patching with caffeine and duct tape. I closed my files, left Sequoia clean, and walked out to a bus stop that smelled like rain and old gum. He found my desk empty the next morning, showed up that evening in a downpour on Lorraine Avenue, while I stood with a listing umbrella and a half-packed life pulled me into his chest in the rain, and said, don't disappear, I already lost once and I can't do it again. And I told him, you don't get to call me fragile, then claimed the umbrella. He flinched like I'd landed it, said, I used cold like armor, I'm scared. I'm wrong, I want to learn with you, or at least not without you. And that's the kind of apology you can put weight on. Back at his place in front of a fire that sounded like it had opinions, I told him, you hurt me, you treated me like an expense to manage, he said. I did, and I'm sorry. Without dressing it up, he stepped closer, slow. Asked me to stay, not as a command, but like a man making room in a life built to hold only work. And we kissed gentle first, then certain. It wasn't a montage after that. It was practice, it was me telling him, when his tone built a wall, and him telling me when my pride tried to carry the building alone. It was a plant on my desk that didn't die. It was a ridiculous sunflower pillow in his gray apartment. It was an old piano key catching, then ringing. Anyway, keep going. Adjust. Don't pretend the scratch isn't there. Spring came, and we stood under a blue sign on Detroit Avenue that said, Rivers Ledger Co., accounting folding table cookies, cheap coffee that tried its best friends and old clients, and even Ms. Finch showed up. A couple of reporters hovered, and Graham didn't grandstand. He just took my hand and said into a mic for the record. This story started when Camille decided she was done letting people set her price. I didn't save her, she saved herself. I just wanted to be there when she won. And we cut the ribbon, and people clapped the way people clap at Little League, which if you know, you know. Do I regret the coffee shop hug? Sometimes I wonder if grabbing a stranger crossed a line sometimes. I think I saved myself from a scene I didn't owe to anyone. Do I think the firm protected their name or caved to a double standard? Depends on the day and how honest I'm being about who gets punished for proximity and who gets forgiven for behavior. And when a man who's been cold to survive finally says, "Stay," is that love finding its language or power trying to rename you? You tell me. Drop your city in the comments. Tell me if you think I was wrong to hug first, and ask later. Tell me what you've seen in your workplace about bias and reputation, and who pays the price. Argue with me if you need to share this, if it hit a nerve. And if you want more stories about people who get underestimated, pushed around, then find a way to win, hit subscribe. I'll be here still reconciling what doesn't add up until it does.